All
To
right.
go catch bees?
Hmm?
You're excited to go catch bees?
Yeah. Listen, I'm going to
That
tell
makes
you
us
right
take a
now,
first, man.
I have never done cocaine in my life, but I'm pretty sure that this is the rush that you feel. The same thing. I get so excited. It's like, I feel like Chris Farley, like Tommy Boy. Hmm. It's so true. I love it.
Oh my God. All right. I'm going to go live on Facebook and then we
There's
should be golden public. Come on.
go.
Well, Dawn, does just your whole neighborhood know to call you?
Yeah, this is a couple of towns over, but it's a friend of mine who said, "Hey, my neighbor said there's a wild swarm of bees on the path to the pond. Do you want them?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Oh my God, that's just
Those things
crazy.
are they expensive.
That is
They
just,
are expensive. And one of my packages that I bought this year swarmed on me, and I watched about 10,000 bees just fly away, and there was nothing I could do about it.
oh
So
my.
That's
you bet it.
disheartening.
Oh, that's like, I can't even.
Yeah, yeah.
I would just be sitting there crying because there goes all my money and all my bees and all the things.
Hmm.
But oh my
Yes.
gosh. Yeah, I don't know. So, all right. Well, we will get started. For those of you who don't know, I am Lisa Messerschmidt. I am here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and you are tuning in to some of the most amazing women, mamas, entrepreneurs, besties, and crazy women that I absolutely know and love. We like to call ourselves the Flossom Four, and we think we are pretty awesome, but clearly we are the first ones to jump out and say we are not perfect. So tonight, I just am so excited about what we're going to chat about because it is most of the kids I think are like just done with school, getting into summer break, and I haven't had littles in my house in a very, very long time, but I remember as a mom saying to be as a working mom, especially, right? Because I still worked full time when my kids were young. And I was like, this is crazy. I prefer it when my kids were in school because when they were out of school, they were calling me like every 27 seconds because back then we didn't even really have text, right? And mom, can I eat this? Mom, I need to go here. Mom, so-and-so's biting me, hitting me, locked me out of the house, whatever it is. And I just remember like telling my kids, do not call me unless the house is on fire or somebody has a broken bone sticking out. And I just, it just gave me all of this angst. Yes, Meredith, and I just fed you 10 minutes ago. So just gave me all of this angst, and I'm laughing because as you guys are all reminding me of this, I'm thinking to myself, boy, wouldn't it have been nice if I would have had some tools in my toolbox to both help me manage staying calm, cool, and collected a little bit better instead of screaming at them on the telephone. And also help them kind of be able to remain calm, cool, and collected and not having every last little thing push them over the edge that they thought they had to call mom and tattle on whoever else. It's funny because it's just bringing back all those memories. Um, so we are here chatting about all the things, and we are going to go ahead. We've got, like I said, the Flossom Four. We have my good friend Meredith Kroom and Dawn Dutcher and Kelly Cipriani, and they are all going to share a little bit about their experiences. And I know, Dawn, we are going to hit you up first because you not only are an awesome woman, but you are a bee addict because you just said you've never done crack, but Dawn is actually going to jump off and go like save the neighborhood from a swarm of bees. I'm hoping you put on like a bee, the whole thing. Do you?
I don't wear a whole suit. I just wear the veil and the sweatshirt. And then honestly,
What?
a pair of nursing scrubs and a pair of Converse and some tall socks, and I'm good.
I'd like to
So,
watch.
well,
I'm
a
gonna
friend of mine will probably videotape this, is my guess. However,
Oh,
um,
perfect.
yeah. So just to qualify what Lisa said, I have never done crack, but my quote was, I've never done cocaine, but I'm pretty sure collecting the swarm of wild bees, that same rush that you get, I don't know. That's what everybody, I- I've heard people talk, but this is just like the biggest adrenaline rush for me when I can go out and, it's kind of a symbiotic thing, right? So the bees are helping us. I'm helping the bees to find a safe, secure home and, someplace that they'll be able to batten down the hatches in the wintertime, especially because we live in New England and this weather that we have now is fleeting. So anyway, I'm going to open this up because I wanted to chat a little bit about, I actually would love to chat a lot about this. um, but I am really passionate about what our products do for children. And this is the time of year that we get lots of phone calls from people saying, my kids, first of all, let me back up. We have an exorbitant number of children under the age of 10 who are on medication for anxiousness, for depressed feelings. Um, thank you. Um, yes, caught myself there. For depressed feelings, for focus and attention problems, right? Like, never mind all the other myriad of autoimmune disorders and asthmas and stuff, right? But especially when we're talking about school focused concerns. These are the things that people will oftentimes reach out to us about for their children. And lo and behold, this is near and dear to my heart because I am sitting here currently as a master director in this company now for, with them for 5 years because of my own child who I desperately was looking for help for. And we were actually in the same boat as many parents where, the school would be calling and saying, he's not paying attention, his executive functioning skills, like no organization, can't start a task on his own, no follow through, things like that. And just kind of like staring out the window, daydreaming. And I have to admit, I was actually a daydreamer. And every now and then I will find those handwritten report cards from back in the day of my own. And that was always noted, daydreamer. And I thought, like, now I kind of feel like, well, I don't think that was a bad thing. But really, if you're trying to learn, it can be. So it's trying to find this balance for these kids. And of course, the pediatricians have one line of defense, and that is medication. And this is the biggest struggle for me because when this came up in conversation with my own child, I was desperate for help from myself and mostly for help for him. But it was because it became terribly yeah, gosh, terribly difficult to manage and balance this like work-life balance with the needs of this child. And this is really when I went down this rabbit hole of like, what can I do besides medication? Because I had seen other kids in my family start on medications that made them a shell of their former selves. And the parents hated it. It was heartbreaking. And the kids hated it. And I actually have an adult, he's a young adult now, but he started on meds when he was 10 years old. This is someone close to me, not the child, not my son I was speaking of. And he came off the meds once he was an adult. So after high school, about 19 years old or so, he did not go on to college. So there was no reason for the pediatrician to keep prescribing these meds for ADD, ADHD, things like that, like the Concertas, the Ritalins, the Adderalls, all that. And what the way that he describes things to me now as an adult was because that 10-year span of time that he was on medication and his moods were like this constantly flatlined basically, so not the normal ups, not the normal downs that every single human experiences, but unfortunately it's almost like a numbing sensation was what it was described to as, from this young man. And he said, as an adult I feel as though I have no coping skills because I never learned to adjust to the happies and the sads and the highs and the lows. And it's been a big struggle for him now in his young adulthood to try to work backwards and get those coping skills developed, when the natural biology is those are things that we develop in our youth and our adolescence normally. So my goal for my own child was to not ever put him on those things if I didn't have to. And we went back and forth and back and forth. And every year at the annual physical, it would come up in conversation, and that little prescription pad would come out, and she would have that pen ready. And every single time I was like, oh, I'm desperate. This is so hard for me. It's so hard for the teachers. It's so hard for him. But something was just telling me this is not the route to go. And the game changer for me that I said, I will never do this again, is when I saw this skinny little pasty, scrawny, gosh, probably 9-year-old splayed out on an exam table getting an EKG and lab work, because the doctor had kind of convinced me, like, just try it, just try it. And when I decided, fine, maybe we'll do this, right? When I saw him splayed out on that table, all I could think of was, if he needs a barrage of blood work and an EKG prior to starting this medication, what other potential ramifications? And that was something that was literally like a probably more like a throat punch than a gut punch to me. I could not, from that point forward, I went down the rabbit hole. What can I do? How can we make changes? How can we mitigate some of these symptoms that he's feeling? And CBD kept coming up. So we have a lot of people that are in the same boat, that is not something they want to do, but they don't have knowledge as to how or what else to do. And I'm coming to you as a parent, and as a parent of a successful a child with a CBD success story, right?
And
Um,
Dawn, I want to interrupt you just for a
yeah,
moment. I think it's really important for people also to hear. So not only are you a parent, and a parent who loves to go down rabbit holes, and a parent of some extremely awesome kids, you're also a nurse.
yes.
And so you have that Western medicine background.
Hmm.
But there was still something in your gut that said, hmm.
Yep.
And
And
I think that's really important for people to know.
yeah, no, thank you. I forget about that sometimes. I don't know how, because it's been 30 years. But anyway, yes. So it's true. Lisa's spot on. It was part of what I've seen in the medical field, is part of the app was a big part of where that apprehension was formed, honestly, is because I've seen this as well. I've heard the personal testimonials of these kids themselves, not just the ones that were on it for 10 plus years and then came off and had coping difficulties, but the children that were on it, I mean, they lose their drive to eat oftentimes. Or the opposite, depending on the array of medications, sometimes they do nothing but eat, right? So we can see this deviation from a otherwise normal childhood, right? So it starts to cause symptoms in them, not just focus, but other things come out when you start to introduce medications. And there can be, clearly, if we needed an EKG and lab work beforehand, there can be some serious ramifications, and people do see that. So that really, I think, is the biggest drive home part for me. And that is the biggest reason that I'm so passionate about that. And I have to just share with you too, I'm not even sure if I shared this note with you ladies, but yesterday I had gotten a message, unsolicited message, from one of my customers, who is somebody that, we went to high school together in this little town in East Bridgewater, but they have a child who is in college, and they were very concerned about him, because every time he came home from school, they felt like they were seeing his level of drinking go up a little bit more than they wanted to see. The withdrawal from social interactions was diminishing. Um, he really was not himself. He was not that happy-go-lucky kid that they felt like they used to have. And, especially when you send your kids off to college, you, as the mama bear or papa bear, can no longer control every part of that day-to-day existence of what happens. And they were very fearful that this could turn into more. And they were not close to him, in a physical proximity to be able to just check in on him. So they connected us, and I worked actually with this child who's a young adult now, and he agreed to start on the collagen and the full spectrum jellies. And in typical young man fashion, not super chatty, but has really explained to me. We had a really good heart to heart talk before we started, figured out where he was at. And it turns out he really wasn't even sleeping at night. If he was able to fall asleep, he would fall asleep at 4 a.m. and then have to get up for class by 7. And that is no way to survive. And then that creates this whole other vicious cycle. So he is now home from school for summer break, and his mom wrote to me, and these ladies know I am not a crier, not as much as they are, and I love you all, but I could not help it. Literally, it was like waterworks, because it literally brought me back to my own child, and to go from seeing this kind of sad shell of the person that they used to be, and not really seeing them smile and express themselves and interact and engage, to somebody you feel like you've got your child back again. And I wish that I could just read the text message from my screen while I'm talking to you. But when the child is telling me he's feeling better and noticing an improvement, that's great. But then on the flip side of it, when you can relate as the parent to what they're seeing, and it gave them hope. And I just could not thank them enough for giving me the opportunity to work with their child even, and to trust me enough to take this opportunity to try to help him. And, so far so good. Everybody is very happy, and we're doing awesome. So getting back to the summer vacation, this is a time frame in which a lot of parents will take that break from medication. And this is an amazing time to actually, if you're ever interested in using CBD or any products like this for your child, now's a great time to, with if it's a medication that they're on that needs to be weaned. Most of them are not. Most can be taken or not taken day to day. But if it's something that the child needs to be weaned from, just work with your doctor to wean off, and we can work with you to help bridge that gap, so that the CBD can be introduced in a fashion that it overlaps and there really isn't a gap. So you're starting one and tapering off of the other at the same time. And this is a beautiful time to do it, because you oftentimes, hopefully, we have more interaction with our children than we do through the typical school year, because we've got sports running in every direction. Most parents are working full time. Oftentimes, both parents are working and working full time. Kids are off at school, they're off at dance or soccer or whatever it is. So this is really an opportunity for parents to have a good chance to make their own informed decision as to whether they see a difference with their child, and to do so in a safe manner. So I could ramble all day about this, but that's kind of my 50 cents on that. But I would love to toss this over to Meredith. And if anybody has any questions, I am happy, just being the mom who's kind of gone through this very recently with her own child and having seen the results. I am very happy. If anybody has any questions offline, feel free to just shoot me a private message, because I know that this isn't an easy decision for a lot of people to make. But I want you to know that you have people to hold your hand and guide you through this whole process. And we would never, ever do anything for anybody else's child that we would not feel comfortable doing for our own. And I think that to me is the part that really elevated my comfort level when I decided to give CBD a try 5 years ago. And I thank God every day that we did. So take it away, Meredith.
Actually, I think I'm gonna kick it over to Kelly, because I know she's on
Oh,
a
is
little
she on?
time crunch. She's on.
She's on. Perfect.
Yep. I'm gonna let her kick it off, because I think that what she has to talk about ties in very well with what you were talking about. So Kelly, you go ahead and take it, and then I'll wrap it up. Maybe. Dang, did she just get kicked off? Sorry, guys. There she is.
Here I am. Okay, I will talk fast. I'll talk fast. There were so many things, Dawn, that you shared that just resonated with me. And first of all, thank you for just putting the bow on that, because it's so perfect. As a former special education teacher, I had so many kids who were on the medication you mentioned, Ritalin. That was the drug of choice back in the day in the 90s when I was in the classroom last. And it was like, I taught middle school kids, mostly boys. They were all demonstrating excessive energy and lack of focus, and couldn't keep their bodies still. But it was just like the thing to do. The doctors just prescribed that medication. I'm like, how about we just let children just be children and have the natural biological functions like you were just talking about, with your nurse's hat. So much of that it just brought back so many memories for me. And I've just thought so many times, like since finding Green Compass, how this could have helped so many children who I have served in my career as a teacher. And also for the parents who dealt with the struggles. I mean, I've dealt with children who some had like mild learning disabilities, some were, had the more severe, profound concerns. Some kids were medically fragile. And as a parent, I can only imagine the stress that would accompany that, like knowing that your child may or may not survive, 100 seizures in a day, things like that. Like that, if I had this gift to share with people 30 years ago, 25 years ago, when I was in a classroom, I just feel like it could have been a whole different situation. So there's that piece. But also, just for myself, like what this has done for not only for me, but for my own child, a child who struggled with a lot of anxious feelings, who came to me in high school and said, Mom, like I'm really having a hard time. And it was mostly in social situations. This beautiful girl who she didn't have the confidence, she didn't have the skill set yet. Because let's face it, when kids are developing, like, as a 58-year-old now, I can look back on situations and think, oh my gosh, like I let that get to me. But when you're, 15, 16, 17 years old, things seem really big when they're not really, right? So our pediatrician reluctantly prescribed a medication that's commonly given for those anxious thoughts and, kind of feelings of sadness and things. And I didn't really want her to do it either, but she felt like she needed something to help her cope. And she was on it for about 3 years. So when Green Compass came into my life, she came to me, and she had graduated high school at that point. And she said, Mommy, do you think that this might help me? Because I don't like how this makes me feel. And it was exactly the way Dawn described. It was just like this flat affect. Her emotions were kind of below the surface, but I said, you know what, let's give this a shot. So we introduced a full spectrum CBD tincture, a 500 milligram at the time, because way back then we only had a 500 and 1,000 milligram. Y'all remember? So we started her on the 500 milligram and gradually introduced that, and then started to slowly titrate down on the prescription medication. And lo and behold, I started to see the light come on in my daughter. And I still get emotional thinking about it, because I feel like I got my baby back. See, Dawn, you're right. I can't do this without crying, but it's true. When you see somebody who you love so much, feeling like they need something like that to help them cope, I'm the first one to say that I believe that there is a place for, for those types of prescription medications. But I think that all too often we're very quick to just jump to that as a quick fix or whatever. And I'm not saying that that's what my daughter did. She didn't really know what else to do, what might help her. And when I saw the change in her, when I saw her come back, now I can tell you
Oh no, did we lose her? Kelly.
There it goes every time. Anyway, her emotions are just more appropriate. She is sad appropriately and angry appropriately and happy, and I see the normal range of emotions. So to me, instead of having somebody who's just kind of flat, and then when something goes awry, it's like the genie's out of the bottle, and then it's
So technology is fabulous when technology is fabulous. I think maybe Kelly's having some technology internet issues. So maybe Meredith, you wanna I think we all really understood what Kelly was saying, and I so appreciate her sharing her heartfelt story, because I'm telling you, when we see our kids come back and
Right.
we see them start just like shining back through and showing us who they are. I can't speak to that for my children, but I can speak to that for me. That's the way I felt for so many years. I didn't have, when I was taking some things, I didn't have a lot of high highs and a lot of low lows. It was just flatlined. And now I love it because I feel all of the emotions that we all need to feel, but I'm also able to rationalize and get through them.
Right.
So I never thought of it the way both Kelly and Dawn described it, but the whole learning to figure out how to manage through those emotions, and you don't learn about them till you're an adult, that's hard. So if we can help our kids learn that younger, don't you think the world would just be a better place? I don't know.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're talking about there. And Kelly, no worries. You just sent that text message. No worries, everybody. Definitely got the bulk of what you were saying. Um, but just from my own personal standpoint of view, my kids have actually been out of school for 2 weeks, and so um, during the summer, our kids work for us. If you don't know, if you haven't learned anything about each of us yet, but my husband and I own a nursery and landscaping business. And so during the summer and when they're off for like spring break and things like that, our children go to work. It was how we were raised, is how we will raise our children, because we feel that it is very important to instill the work ethic into kids pretty early on, especially when you're owning your own business. There's a lot to learn there. There's a big learning curve, and it's a lot of fun working in a family owned and operated business. There are days that are just super, super stressful. And, a lot of kids don't necessarily want to be working with their parents. My oldest is 14 and a half, and he is going through that period where he just thinks that we are, if you're up with the current vernacular, we are dog water. That's one of the new ones right now.
I have a question. I have a question for those of us who are not up to
Right.
date.
Yeah.
Is that bad or is that good? I'm thinking it's bad.
It's dog water is bad. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, it's, but in, even though they're not in school and they might not need that additional little boost of extra focus and things like that, they're super off schedule. So, trying to refine a schedule, trying to make sure that they are um, maintaining eating, during the right times of the day and eating what they're supposed to be eating. And then on top of that, they're not in separate classes, at school. They're literally working together in the field, and one is 10 and one is 14 and a half. And that is just enough age gap for them both to think the other one is the most ignorant being on the earth, and having to control that without them beating the snot out of each other is a lot of fun. So we've got, CBD playing on a lot of fronts here. We've got Philip is in the middle of all things spraying season, and I am in the middle of trying to get all things potted up season. We're shifting things. I'm trying to manage these two children of mine, as well as I have a couple of other high school and college kids in the nursery right now. So there's a lot of dynamics, and CBD is so important in even our summer wellness routine because it helps us. I mean, we're out in the weather all day long. We're out in that sun, we're out in, sometimes the rain, the wind has been horrendous this year. Like the first 6 months have been so windy, it's very odd. So all of that stuff just kind of takes it out of you, all of those environmental factors. And although we can sit here and talk about the no yelly jelly and, CBD oil, we've got a couple of other things that go with our product line that are phenomenal for what my family has to deal with on a daily basis when it comes to the work that we do. So just, and I know this is a little bit off topic, but I did want to highlight a couple of products that we have here. And the first one is our new, not our new, but our bug spray, which is back. And this went away for a little while, and we were all super duper like bummed out, and we're super happy that it's back. Um, but this has been something that we've used every single summer, especially in the late summer, in the nursery because it is DEET free. So this is a USDA certified organic bug spray. It is safe for all ages. It repels bugs up to 4 hours, and it's made out of literally all natural ingredients, the things that you're growing, in your herb garden and in your yard, and the things that your grandparents and your great grandparents used to help deter bugs from them. That is what this stuff is made out of. And then it's paired with 50 milligrams of CBD. So our skin is our largest organ. That is the thing that is absorbing all of the environmental factors that are outside of us every day on a daily basis. So already having been in an industry where we use pesticides and herbicides, and there's not a way for me to really get away from that. This lessens my toxin load, where I'm not having to put this on myself. And also, it keeps me from having to use dangerous bug sprays on my kids, which is, that you make a choice. Are you going to use the stuff that has the pesticides in it, or are you going to let your kids get exposed to mosquitoes that might give them something like limes or something like that? And so this is a great in between. Yeah, Lisa said she uses it on her dogs as well. You can spray it on your hands and just kind of, put it all over your dog's coat. We've been using the absolute mess out of it this weekend because we're at a campground. We sometimes take the camper and go somewhere, and we're literally a half a mile from the water. And so the bugs right here at the campground are everywhere. And I make sure that I keep this on my picnic table outside of the camper because the kids are palling around with other kids everywhere. And so they all know that this is sitting out there on the corner of my table. And if they need bug spray, they can come right here to our camper and spray it all over themselves. And they don't have to worry about what's in it. There's not going to be, because I know DEET can cause some severe skin rashes and things like that. And even the bottles that they're put in with it's the automatic spray, even that stuff can be harmful. So this is one of my favorite products. And then our Soothe cream, which I don't have right in front of me, is another really key item that we've been using all summer long for overexposure to the sun. I've burnt myself in the oven twice this week. And so I use it all the time I will burn myself all the time on the oven, but I use it all the time for burns and for rashes. Both boys got fried last weekend, Memorial Day weekend, because it was the first weekend out on the water. And so, just from a product standpoint of view for the summer, this is where it's at. And I know that these things that we are using continuously through the summer, not just the ingestible CBD, but the other topical CBD items that we have are great and safe for my family. And I can help protect the outside of their body as well as the inside of their body. And that's a big deal. So, Lisa, you wanna say anything else?
Well, I don't know. I always have something to say. But it's funny. I remember when the buzz came out, right? And I was blown away then, and I think I'm still blown away in some aspects now that there's truly. So first of all, who has a USDA certified organic insect repellent, right?
Mm,
Nobody does. And
it's so good.
well, it's funny you say that, because what I was gonna say is, I don't know if you remember when it came out, we were all on the beach,
Yep.
and Jenny had a sample bottle of it. And we all got online, and we were trying it and all the things. And I remember all the guys were out golfing, and Mark came back after golfing, and he gave me a hug and a kiss and whatever. And I was like, "Oh, how was golf?" And he goes, "You really smell good." And I'm like, uh, it would be Oda bug spray. What are you talking about? And I'm like, well, it's our new product that just came out today. And we were laughing about it because I don't like an insect repellent because it's sticky and they
Yep.
stink, I think, in my
Yes,
opinion. And I love this one because it is also moisturizing.
it is.
But I know we want to keep it short because it's beautiful out. And Kelly, I know you're gonna like go listen to live music or something fun, as I'm going back to cleaning my garage. But I know, different times of life. But I just want to share with, if for those of you who are still hanging on, or are tuning in and catching the replay, I hope you could hear and feel the hearts, especially of the stories when Dawn and Kelly are talking about seeing their children come back, right? There's something to be said for that. We are not saying this is the end all be all for all things, but it might be a really good place to start. Or if you are looking for something to just offset what's going on, whether it's with your children or with yourself as a stressed out mom. I say mom, I'm sure the dads get stressed out as well. But I only can speak for the moms. If there's something that we can do to help you, please know that yes, this is a product that we sell and a company that we support. But more so than that, we are really here as a sounding board for anybody that's out there. We're going to be the first ones to tell you if you come to us with whatever. If we don't feel this is a good fit for you, we're going to tell you that. We're not just here to make a fast buck. We just want the best for our friends and our families. And if we can help one more family have a little bit more of a calm, relaxed, comfortable day, then I think we all win. And there's a lot of different ways to get the products and all the things. If your heart is speaking to you and you're like, I could do what these ladies are doing, because literally this is what we do. We just share from the heart. If that's something that you're like, that it's just tugging at my heart a little bit, or there's just something in your brain going, wow, that's a whole lot different than what so many others are doing in a direct sales industry. We are all an open book, whether you are on the Zoom today as one of our guests or one of our friends' guests. Just know this, you can still ask us any questions. We are here, we are an open book. And if we can just, I don't know, I said it again, but if we can just help one more mama, one more child, one more grandparent, watch their family blossom and come back, then our job here is done. So with that, I just want to say, I love you ladies. I hope you have the best rest of the day. I am super looking forward to seeing you all next Sunday. For those that you don't know, we do this every Sunday at 7 o'clock, like clockwork, same bat time, same bat channel. We never know what we're going to talk about till the day before, and sometimes 5 minutes before what we're going to talk about. But just always know we're here to share from our heart. And we hope that you will either join us another time, or maybe even just share this with someone that you think could use some extra love. So love you, ladies. I hope you have a great night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Love you big.